Here are the cheapest cars you can buy Part 2. Number 17. 2000 Ford Mustang GT. While many of the newer versions are priced around $10,000 used, you might not even consider looking at them while looking for a cheap muscle vehicle. An excellent example is the 2000 Ford Mustang GT, which is only worth $6,200 for a roadworthy vehicle in need of repair. Naturally, upgrading a car will cost more money the newer it is, but the components will also be simpler to locate. Its modest 4.6-liter SOHC modular V8 engine, which produced up to 260 horsepower, was the 2000 GT's main drawback instead of its large V8. A quarter of a mile is covered in 13.5 seconds, and the 3,237 pounds are propelled from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5 seconds flat. Like every other car on the market, it's not too awful right out of the factory, but there is always space for development. Number 16. 1971 Ford Ranchero. With a starting used price of $6,500, this 1971 Ford Ranchero made it to number 16 on the list. The Ranchero, which is based on the Ford Torino, Fairlane, isn't as well known as the Chevrolet El Camino, but that is a benefit for anyone looking for underappreciated muscle vehicles. Both 6 and 8-cylinder engines were offered for the 1970s and 1971 models. The V8 variant is available for less than $10,000, but be prepared for well-used vehicles that show obvious signs of aging. On the other hand, if you're looking for the best, low mileage, immaculate examples might cost up to $20,000. The value of these vintage vehicles has continued to rise due to a renewed interest in automobile and truck design over the past few decades. They still fall within the typical financial constraints though. The 302 or 351, with a 429 on occasion, will be the most common engines under the hood. The 429 can accelerate you to 60 miles per hour in 6.2 seconds and cover the quarter-mile run in 14.6 seconds. Number 15. 1996 Chevrolet Camaro Z28 SS. This car's starting used price is $7,400. And here is what the car can do. The 4th generation Chevrolet Camaro, affectionately known as the Catfish Camaro, was introduced in the 1990s and is another illustration of how punk culture and daring designs have permeated popular culture. The Catfish never attracted the same affection and fan base as its forerunners, but this is a plus for buyers of vintage cars at a tight price. The 1996 Camaro Z28 SS is one of the few special versions of the 4th generation Camaro that are still in high demand on the second-hand market. It was basically an improvement on the Z28, with a V8 engine rated at 305 horsepower, 30 horsepower more than the standard Z28. In the big picture, that may not seem like much, but it is sufficient to save a few significant track time seconds. In 5.3 seconds, the Z28 SS could accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour, and in 13.8 seconds, it could complete a quarter-mile run at 101.4 miles per hour. Number 14. 1972 Chevrolet Vega. With a starting used price of $7,400, here's what you need to know about this car. For those who grew up in the 1980s and 1990s, converting a Chevy Vega into a muscle vehicle that outperformed its rivals was a simple and affordable task. The Vega is still a popular project vehicle among builders, but when customized to the highest degree, they may cost up to 6 figures because they are becoming less frequent on the used car market. However, occasionally an auction may allow them to sell for less, so if the Vega is the project vehicle you've been eyeing, be patient and keep a watch on them because they've sold for as little as $7,150 in the past. Somehow, when you check the value of a Chevy Vega on websites like Haggerty, they say that a perfectly good car is only worth $3,425. The market values displayed above were sourced from Classic.com, an auction comparison website, as you should be aware of such extremely low numbers. The Vega is an excellent choice for a project car. Simply keep a lookout for one that won't break the bank. Number 13. 2008 Chrysler 300 SRT8. Fast and luxurious, the 2008 Chrysler 300 SRT8 is a masterpiece. It not only embodies elegance and grandeur, but it also roars to the top of the sky with a powerful Hemi right out of Motor City. It was the priciest of all Chrysler 300 model year offerings and, for 2 generations and 9 model years, it endured. Performance-oriented features included large alloy wheels with staggered tires, a small rear spoiler, Brembo brakes, and body ducts. A 5-speed automatic transmission is mated to a snarling 6.1-liter V8 Hemi that produces 425 horsepower and 440 pound-feet of torque. With the help of this wombo combination, the 4,200-pound vehicle could accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 4.6 seconds and complete the quarter mile in 13.0 seconds, reaching a high speed of 173 miles per hour. The benefits extended beyond the striking, elegant design and the outstanding performance, as the inside provided passengers with a comfortable, luxurious experience complete with all the amenities Chrysler had to offer. Number 12. 1987 Chevrolet El Camino SS. With a starting used price of $7,600, this car made it to number 12 on the list. It would be improper to omit the Chevrolet El Camino from the list as the Ford Ranchero was already there. Going all out and looking for a 1987 El Camino SS is still a good idea because Chevy loves to add extra muscle to their cars. The price of these cars is still not outrageous. Only one engine option, the 305 V8, was available for the SS. There is 150 horsepower produced by the 305 8-cylinder. That said, when you floor it to the metal, you can see the fuel gauge drop because of the 4-barrel carburetor located above the intake. Though the Monte Carlo SS had a 454 under the hood, finding a damaged one would make the change straightforward and well worth the blood and sweat invested. The track times were not outstanding, going from 0 to 60 in 9.1 seconds, and the quarter mile in 16.5 seconds. Number 11. 1972 Mercury Comet. Despite their unassuming exterior, all Mercury Comets were equipped with engines ranging from a compact 170 inline-6 to the 302, which was capable of producing somewhat more power. The 1972 Mercury Comet, depending on the model under consideration, is an excellent foundation for constructing a classic muscle car, particularly if you want to install an engine from a Ford Thunderbird or Mustang under the hood. You can find cars with engines ranging from the small, fuel-efficient 6-cylinder 170 cubic inch engine that produce 82 horsepower to the small block 302 V8 engine that produce up to 220 horsepower and 300 pound-feet of torque. This is because the 1972 Mercury Comet was not made exclusively for use as a muscle car. With this combo, the automobile could accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 9.4 seconds and cover the quarter mile in little over 17 seconds. This starting used price is $8,100. Number 10. 1975 Chevrolet Camaro. With a starting used price of $8,400. This is what the car has to offer. Perhaps you're wondering, why another Camaro, and scratching your head? The solution is quite straightforward. One of the first generation muscle cars is the Camaro. One that is readily available and prepared for racing, or that can be modified into a monstrous vehicle that can genuinely spin the tires off the wheels. Being one of the worst years for the Camaro, 1975 is an ideal year for anybody looking to construct one, which makes it an excellent year to hunt for. Only 155 horsepower could be produced by the 5.7-liter, or 350 as it is more often known, which was hardly much given that the automobile could weigh up to 3,420 pounds. Due to this, the automobile was able to barely complete the quarter-mile run in 17.4 seconds, a dreadfully sluggish pace that only allowed it to achieve 78 miles per hour. Hurt. Number 9. 1973 Mercury Cougar. Instead of following the rest of the industry's lead, the third-generation Mercury Cougar took a bolder approach in 1974. It was intended for this change to take the car out of the Ford Mustang's class and into a class where it could compete directly with the Buick Regal and the Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. Yet, given that the 351 and the 351 Cobra Jet were the only available engines, there is a possibility that someone who is unaware of the differences between the two may sell you one for a low price. If you can find one with the more potent 266 horsepower and 301 pound-feet of torque Cobra Jet engine, you should be in for some fast-track times. It'll take you 6.3 seconds to go from 0 to 60 miles per hour and 14.8 seconds to complete a quarter-mile run. Note that this is prior to any enhancements or modifications. The starting used price of this car is $9,100. Number 8. 1972 Ford Gran Torino Sport. With a starting used price of $9,400, this car made it to number 8 on the list. A remarkable makeover that gave the cool vintage Ford Torino a fresh lease on life was the 1972 Ford Gran Torino Sport, also marketed as a rebadged Mercury Cyclone GT. Prices can vary significantly according to engine and trim level, but some can be had for as little as $10,450. Still, in such instances, be prepared for 6-digit odometer numbers and chip paint. Be prepared to pay more than what the current market rates indicate if you're looking for a flawless vehicle with minimal mileage. 2 engine options were available for the Ford Gran Torino Sport in 1972, a 248 horsepower 351 Cleveland and a 140 horsepower 302 V8. For the sake of this list, the 302 is the variant to search for because the ones with the Cleveland are more expensive. It had 140 horsepower and 230 pound-feet of torque, which allowed it to go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 11 seconds and complete a quarter-mile run in 18 seconds. It can be upgraded and made to look good enough to compete on nearly any track by reducing weight. What are your thoughts about the list? Thank you for staying through till the end. Make sure to check out part 1. Hit the subscribe button and don't forget to watch our previous videos.